Hi, and welcome to Watercolor with Sonia. Today we're going to be painting a heritage house in Vancouver, and I love this house because there's actually a sister house somewhere close by, but this has managed to survive all the changes in our environment and still is going strong with its old thatch roof. So we're going to try and paint that. And currently I'm just going to show you what the original photo is. There we are. You can see that. Oh, wrong way. There we go. And this was done probably in about March, April. So there's the foliage is really nice and light and low. Now it's really grown and has a lot more foliage around it, which is a little harder to handle in terms of painting it because you can't see all of this beautiful in front area. So we're going to start by using some light colors. Almost went for the coffee, and I thought a nice brown would be very effective. So we can begin with a little bit of burnt sienna and maybe some shadow violet, or just burnt sienna adding in a little bit of purple to get that kind of brownish color. I'll just show you here. Here we go. And we'll start with the roof. The roof has a lot of nice detail in it from the thatching. And some nice lights and shadows there too, which I've pen and inked in here. I'm just trying to get some more light going here. But on the one that I will do in the demo in the class, I will leave it uninked. Because with the inking, you could go to town on just some of this beautiful roofing, just to get the layers in of the roof. But we're going to try with the paint to also get that same feeling. So, for example, going in a little bit more with some shadow violet, where some of the shadows are in here, we'll just pull out that beautiful dark. We could take a darker, a smaller brush to get it also more intense. Now, the actual area just under this beautiful roof has more of a what I would call a burnt umber. Hi, we're back again, and I was painting the dark eaves on the... I'm just going to zoom in a bit, I think. Oh, that's zooming out. Let's zoom in a bit. Bring it over. So there's some beautiful dark, what I would call Oxford brown eaves. And you can make that with just a little bit of burnt sienna and purple. Let me move my brush here. And it just goes under this area here. That's a bit too much water. I should be dabbing a bit. Let me get my sponge. And if you dab a little bit at the edge of the ferrule, you'll get a little bit less water and more pigment will stay on the brush. Let's get some of that dark again. And we're going to add a little bit of that into this area here. And the shadows were all in this area too, so I'll probably have to do one more application. Let's just take that across, because now it's looking very similar to the color of the original roof that I put in. Okay. Just put those in here. Now I could have painted the inside yellow area. I really should have, but we'll let that dry and then I'll come back in and do that. Since now I'm working with this brown. And there's some other features in there. Let's go to a smaller brush because it's not great working with a too large a brush. going to go with a small round. This is probably about a 4. And this should give me better control of the small areas that I want with the dark brown. Again, just painting with purple and burnt sienna to get a nice rich brown. And there's a nice shadow under this area here. The door is all dark. Now I just covered an area that I could have left light right here, so I can go in and lift, dab, but it's such a small area I'm not worrying about it. I can almost add a little bit of white. Okay, just adding in a little bit more color here. Yes, definitely easier if you use the smaller brush. Because you can have more control about what you're doing. And this is a synthetic brush, so it's not holding as much water. And I don't know, yeah, you can see me mixing, but what you can't see is what colors I'm actually using. I'm trying to use purple and burnt sienna, but every so often I dab my brush into the shadow violet because it just adds that little extra brown, darkish brown that I need. And you could easily use Payne's Gray or something like that to affect that. So these are just little elements that are around the windows. I'm trying to just get some of the shadows there. I think I missed some of the roof here. There are these little squares that are quite light as well. So I'm just trying to pay attention to some of the shadows and the areas that we need. Now the area under this window is quite dark, but again, we'll just paint the areas that I know are actual brown before we actually go in and paint the other colors. Now the chimney is actually brick. The other stones look more like granite. So what would be better to do blue with a little bit of gray in the granite area. Let's just put that, just pop that in there, give it a little bit more interest. And I can quickly add a little soft yellow to it, maybe just to, don't want to go going green, that went green, I'm not really interested in green. I would like a little bit more like a yellow ochre or something to try and get just a bit of warmth in that stone. Yeah, that's okay. So I would prefer then, if the case here is it's looking a little greenish, I would prefer then using gray and adding just a light gray tone to it rather than going to that little bit of yellowish green. I notice here there's some brown in here. And I get a bit more dark in these areas here. Now there's always going to be additional shadows in certain areas. That's why the ink is really lovely, because it will allow you the shadow without even having to do anything. I'm looking at these shadows here, and there's some more shadows underneath here. And even on the side here a little bit more. And there's even a bit of a shadow on the edge of the roof up there. Up here definitely. And I was missing some areas that I hadn't picked up on, and there's definitely more up in here. And over here I missed that. I'm now adding some of the brown in because I don't like that, what happened with the yellow. Okay. Alright. And in actual fact, some of that blue, as long as it's not too blue, could go in here into the windows on this side. Up here. And into the windows down here. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the brick is reddish, so we're going to use alizarin crimson with a little bit of lighter red, and then I think a burnt sienna Just kind of get that red feel here. You can always add a little bit of yellow. Okay, and we'll add the same over on the other side. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of hint of that red into the roof a bit, make it more interesting. Give it some highlights. And again, you don't have to color exactly what you're seeing. It's more that just to have fun with the different areas. Now I'm going to quickly do a sap green on the area of the front lawn, and we can always enhance that with some darks and just quickly go through and add the greenery around. So adding a little bit of shadow violet or something into the green afterwards will definitely work to get the variations that we need. We're going to keep that more gray. This is all green around here. And I'll go behind the tree there. The tree is still dark brown. It's a bit of gray, 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 a little bit of light blue sky. Oh, this is still reddish. Okay, so let's put the red back in here. Add a little bit of maybe yellow. And dab it out a bit. It's a bit too concentrated. Okay, darken up the side here a bit. Same on this side over here. All right, now there's a bit of dirt around there, so let's just use that and bring in some of the dirt that's in here. That shadow. Oh, there's a little bit of red there, and this is gray. There's a little bit of red here. Down here is a little bit more rock, and there is a bit of dirt just underneath here. Okay, darken that a bit, since I have the extra color on my brush. Okay, so quickly just adding in, there is actually grass in between some of those rocks. I just noticed that now. So you could put a little bit of green in between here. And then getting back to that gray, just adding a bit of gray in there, the gray around here, gray at the base there, there. This is all gray down here too, in here. And there is a little bit of gray down in here, just at that base. This is more wood, actually. More wood there. Okay. This is gray too. It has a pattern. If I was using my, I would maybe add afterwards a little bit of pen and ink here to allow me to get that. And finally, there is a little bit of brown bush just in this area behind here. Okay, now, so the shadows. So I could use an ultramarine blue. I'm just looking for what I've got, neutral tint, shadow violet, and adding the sap green to it will give it a darker green, and I could get in and just add in some of those dark greens in here. And where's that along the, just along a little bit in between here. This bush at the base, around the base of this bush here a little bit. There were some shadows here. I could just quickly add some shadows in there, and I could even add it into the front bush here. Just a little bit on the side. There's actually, it's all wood there, so let's go back in and add the brown into that corner that I didn't see. That should be all brown. Okay. And then finally, we could either add the yellow to it or leave it white. I'm going to go with yellow ochre here. I'm trying to find a spot where it's not going to be too dark. It's really not that dark, so be very careful. You would just be highlighting it a little bit in there. Okay, if you wanted to, just a tiny bit. All right, quickly, I'm going to do a little bit of the tree. Just adding a little bit of that in there. Now the background, it is also a kind of a gray, so let's use all these colors and make it gray here again. I'm just going to gray it up back there, and I'll add the gray up top here. Okay, and I mentioned we can even here we can put a little bit of lines in here just to kind of give it that idea that there's bricks even here. Okay, so I think did I do that window? No. Okay, let's add a little bit of blue to that window. Yeah. A couple highlights. All right, so the only thing we need to do now is just the sky, right? So we're just going to take a little bit of phthalo blue, add a bit of water, go in and just make a bit of sky in there and leave the rest for the cloud. There we go, just at the top. Okay, and there we have it. There is our wonderful house from King Edward. And again, I could go back in, I'll add a little bit of gray here. I missed that right there. You could go back in, add more pen, or just come in and add some highlights with a small brush. There are a bit like bits of gray, darker gray in some of these areas in here, but you need to let it dry first before you can even get to some of those darks. So you can take more detail with the pen, or even just with the darks along the wood, the stones or the wood. And you know, I did mention a little bit of red in here, just on there and over here. And there's a bit of, in between, a bit of shadow that you can put in. Okay, there you are. Can't wait to paint it with you.